The former Welsh leader of Reform UK has pleaded guilty to accepting bribes to make pro-Russian statements.
This morning, more unidentified pro-Russia armed militias patrolling the streets of Crimea's capital.
I was asked a couple of months ago which world leader did I admire, and I said Vladimir Putin as an operator.
The quote was right, the statesman you most admire. And you did it after he seized Crimea.
This constant eastwards expansion of the European Union, coupled to the fact they are now building a European army, worries me. We are back in a Cold War. We're back in shadow boxing. Whether Putin is a threat or not, let's please stop poking the Russian bear with a stick. It simply doesn't make sense.
And what I said was he'd outwitted and outclassed you all over Syria. I also said I didn't like him as a human being and I wouldn't want to live in Russia. But what I want us to do, let's not meddle. Let's not meddle.
Hang on, just before you go on, you did actually say you admired him.
As an operator,
the
not as a human
question was,
being.
which current world leader do you most admire? As an operator, I would say Putin.
It's early March 2018, and the quiet Wiltshire city of Salisbury is about to become the centre of the world. Two people, a man and a woman, are found unconscious on a bench in the city centre.
Which world leader did I admire? And I said Vladimir Putin as an operator.
Sergei Skripal, a former Russian intelligence officer for the infamous GRU, who worked as a double agent for Britain's MI6 during the 1990s. The younger woman found slumped next to him is his daughter Yulia, visiting her father from Moscow. They are both rushed to the local hospital.
As you know, these two people remain critically ill in hospital. Sadly, in addition, a police officer, who was one of the first to attend the scene and respond to the incident, is now also in a serious condition in hospital.
Which world leader did I admire? And I said Vladimir Putin as an operator.
Now, the announcement came this morning of another list of names of Russians, UK-based Russians, who are being sanctioned. And it included the name of Roman Abramovich. Now, the reason that's been given is that he has ties to Vladimir Putin. He himself rejects that. Either way, I'm beginning to ask myself a question. What are we trying to do? I guess what we're doing is we're trying to turn the rich Russian oligarchs against President Putin. That's the game, I think, that the government are engaged in. And yet, is it right to effectively seize people's assets without any form, any sense of due process? And will it really turn Russians against Vladimir Putin? I'm concerned about the way in which this is being done.
The unnecessary provocation of Vladimir Putin. Our constant desire to expand the European Union and NATO right up to the borders of Russia, something, by the way, that George Osborne and David Cameron were the biggest cheerleaders for, has been a geopolitical error. Because if you poke Russian bears with sticks, guess what happens? They actually snarl and bite back. Vladimir Putin, whatever we may think of him as a human being, is actually on our side.
The 1st of November 2006. Alexander Litvinenko caught on CCTV on his way to a meeting with two former Russian spies at the upmarket Millennium Hotel in central London. He thought he was amongst friends. 22 days later, he was dead.
It was perhaps the most audacious murder on British soil ever, a crime that shocked the world.
This was not some random killing. This was a killing with a very clear purpose, and that it was a killing with some state involvement.
Vladimir Putin, whatever we may think of him as a human being, is actually on our side. I suggest we grow up. I suggest we recognise the real threat facing all of our countries, communities and societies. We stop playing war games in the Ukraine. Let's not go on provoking Putin, whether we like him or not.
I have thought for 30 years that the NATO policy, the EU policy of expanding ever eastwards was a huge strategic error. Yes, we know the Russians can be paranoid, but why poke the Russian bear with a stick?
This EU empire, ever seeking to expand, stated its territorial claim on the Ukraine some years ago. Just to make that worse, of course, some NATO members said they too would like the Ukraine to join NATO. We directly encouraged the uprising in the Ukraine that led to the toppling of the President Yanukovych, and that led, of course, in turn to Vladimir Putin reacting. And the moral of the story is, if you poke the Russian bear with a stick, don't be surprised when he reacts.
The ever eastward expansion of NATO and the European Union was giving this man a reason to his Russian people to say they're coming for us again and to go to war.
But you were echoing him.
Sorry?
You were echoing him. That's what Putin says.
No. Sorry, I've been saying this actually since the 1990s. Ever since the fall of the wall. But hang on a second. We've provoked this war.
We ourselves in the European Union provoked the conflict through our territorial expansionism in the Ukraine. We poked the Russian bear with a stick, and unsurprisingly, Putin reacted. You can like or dislike Vladimir Putin, and I wouldn't want to take him to see my mum for tea on a Sunday afternoon, I've got to tell you. But he is a very canny, very sharp, very clever political operator. There should be a huge degree of guilt in this House about what provoked all of this in the first place, and we saw Western Ukrainians waving European flags, rioting, setting fire to things, and effectively staging a coup d'etat which brought down the Ukrainian president, which has led to this instability. Yes, you are the guilty people, and you refuse to accept it.
Ever westwards expansion of both NATO and the European Union has been seen by many Russians to be provocative, to be encircling, and Putin has managed to use that to mobilize Russian opinion to say, hey, these guys are threatening us, they're threatening Russian-speaking people in other countries. So yes, we've got a lot wrong, and we did start much of this.
Nigel, one more time, just for the record, who's paying for this operation now, for all your bodyguards?
Russians.
What do you make of Nigel's comments? Do you think he's been bought off by the Russians, or do you think he's just saying it all for free? And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It's free and helps the channel grow. If you enjoyed today's video, you might also like my book, Manufactured Fear, which details how politicians and other people in history have used fear to create a government or society they want. Once more, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon and YouTube subscribers who keep this channel going and growing. If you'd like to become one, there's a link in the description. Otherwise, thanks for listening.
Zastanek Wowremia, Towarish.